What's going on, my Century Gunnets? It's the Sentiment here, so back again with another classic WWE pay-per-view review. So, we're nearly at the end of the month of May. June is just around the corner. So, I'm going to review a classic May WWE pay-per-view before the month is out. So, I'm going to review WWE Judgment Day 2007. So, this show was at the Scott Trade Center. Right now it's called the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri on the 20th of May 2007. The attendance of the show was 10,500. Judgment Day '07 received about 242,000 pay-per-view buys, downgrade than the previous year's Judgment Day from 2006. That was the final SmackDown branded Judgment Day. That show is known for Booker T winning the 2006 King of the Ring tournament, the birth of King Booker, the pay-per-view debut of the Great Khali defeat The Undertaker, and also Rey Mysterio defending and retaining the World Heavyweight Championship against JBL. Judgment Day '06 received about 252,000 pay-per-view buys. So this show, Judgment Day '07, this is a trio branded pay-per-view. This is a Raw, SmackDown, ECW Judgment Day because early of that year, by the way, months ago I reviewed No Way Out 2007. That was the final pay-per-view before WrestleMania 23. It was the final brand-only pay-per-view of the first brand split. Yeah, they brought it back a decade later. That's another story for another time. So, when I said on my review of Judgment No Way Out 2007, I'm going to say it right now in my review of Judgment Day '07. Because I think the reason why they stopped doing brand-only pay-per-views, one, because of that fiasco of late 2006. That was that horrifying pay-per-view ECW December 2006, and two, maybe they just don't have deep enough rosters to do brand only pay-per-views. You know, it's vice versa. It's one way or the other. Anyway, so the commentators for Judgment Day '07 for Raw we got JR and the King. For SmackDown we got Michael Cole and JBL, and for ECW we got Joey Styles and Taz. This is going to be in the bad. I'll get to my final thoughts of the show at the end of the review. Is the poster boy, Kane, not on the show. Actually, he was compete in a dart match. I'm going to do the quick results of the dart match. So the dart match had Kane defeat William Regal with Dave Taylor in the corner of William Regal. Yeah, why they did not put the poster boy on the main show beats me, because at the time Kane was not really doing anything. You know, I hate they do that in professional wrestling, to not have the wrestler who's promoting this pay-per-view on the poster but not really competing on the show or showing up at this pay-per-view. It's just what it is. Anyway, that was the dart match. So the first match to kick off Judgment Day '07. So we got the Nature Boy Ric Flair taking on Carlito. So at the time, both Ric Flair and Carlito were not doing anything at the time. They were kind of like feuding and tag teaming. This revolved around Torrie Wilson, by the way. You could tell that Ric Flair, '06, '07, you could tell that Ric Flair is starting to wind down his career. This was after Evolution was broken. This is after his feud with Triple H. '06, '07, you know, he's starting to wind down his career. This was after, you know, his feud with Mick Foley. You could tell he was starting to wind down his career. And this is leading up to Ric Flair having his first retirement the following year at WrestleMania 24 against Shawn Michaels. Because at the time he was, yeah, like I said, not doing anything. You know, he's in his I think it was 58 at this time, so he's in his late 50s. You could tell, like, I think he's Ric Flair as a wrestler, his career is nearly coming to an end. Anyway, so this match between Ric Flair and Carlito, it was an okay of an opener. I feel like it's one-dimensional. You know, Flair was doing the chops. The whole bulk of the match, you had Carlito working on the arm of Ric Flair, and Flair's working on the leg of Carlito to set up the figure four leg lock. Flair managed to lock in the submission hold of of Carlito. My apologies. He locking Carlito with the figure four leg lock to win this match. So yeah, I don't think they had another match, because at this moment, because later in the summer they had the draft. I think you had Ric Flair got drafted to SmackDown, and then he took some time off. I think he injured his hand, and then he came back months later to set up. If Flair lose one more match, he will be forced to retire. That leading up to his final match of his first retirement at WrestleMania 24 the following year. So yeah, it was an okay match. Some of these matches on the show feel like a weekly TV wrestling match, probably on Raw, SmackDown, ECW. Like I said, I'll get to my overall thoughts of the show at the end of this review. So anyway, this is the first of 1, 2, 3, 4 of 5 championship matches on this show. This is a handicap match for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. Vince McMahon, or Mr. McMahon, what do you call him, teaming up with his son Shane and Umaga, defending the ECW Heavyweight Championship against Bobby Lashley. So, wow. So, this happens at WrestleMania 23, the Battle of the Billionaires. Vince McMahon versus Donald Trump. Represent Donald Trump, you had Bobby Lashley. Represent Vince McMahon, Umaga. Lashley defeat Umaga. Donald Trump won it. And Vince McMahon got his head shaved bald. So at Backlash, I think it was a few weeks later, because WrestleMania 23 and Backlash was on the same month. It was in April. So Vince McMahon defeat Bobby Lashley. I think it was a handicap match. Teaming up with his son Shane and Umaga, defeat Bobby Lashley. So yeah, Vince McMahon became the oldest ECW World Champion of all time. I think before that was Terry Funk. So anyways, when Vince won the ECW title, that was officially the end of ECW as the third brand. Even though you got that fiasco ECW Dismember in 2006, the end of 2006, that was basically, I think that show was kind of like one of the biggest nails of the coffin of ECW as the third brand, because at this moment in time, Paul Heyman was gone, Big Show was gone, even though he's not really part of ECW, yeah, December to Dismember was one of the biggest nails of ECW as a third brand's coffin, and then the biggest nail has to be Vince winning the ECW title at Backlash in April. So that was officially end of ECW as a third brand. It was really established that it's not going to be like the original ECW. It's just WWE's version of ECW. I think that at this moment in time, since there's no competition for the WWE, Vince just basically doesn't need to listen to fans. It's basically, you could say, going business to himself. Anyway, so this is the rematch from Backlash 07. This is just a glorified squash match, Bobby Lashley hit Shane McMahon. I think it was Shane with the power. I don't think he hit him with the Dominator. I think it was a running power slam for the win. So Lashley won this match, regained the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, but unfortunately that's not the case. Vince wearing a do-rag. Yeah, he wear the do-rag ever since he got his head shaved bald, but yeah, his hair starting to grow back, it's a shame. I wish they never done this match at WrestleMania 23, like when Vince has to get his head shaved bald, because Vince's hair never truly grow back the same. Seeing right now, his hair's never grew back the same. Yeah, it has to do because of he's getting older, but yes, I wish they never done this stipulation that the loser get his head shaved bald. Anyway, did he? Maybe it was at the there was one segment or one, I think it was on a weekly TV show, maybe at the pay-per-view, when Vince said the N-word. He had Booker T says, "Tell me you do not just say that." It's a ruthless aggression era. If Vince said it right now, he'd probably get hot water. Anyway, you had this one segment, I think it was on Raw or SmackDown, I can't remember. You had John Cena at the time was the WWE Champion, Vince was the ECW World Champion. They kind of collabed, said the champion's here. I think he called Cena my homie, but yeah. Let's talk about the end of this match. So afterwards, you had Umaga attack Bobby Lashley, and it hits Lashley with the Samoan Spike. And Vince informed Bobby Lashley, since you did not pin him, referring to Vince, he's no longer the title. Still belongs to Vince. So this is just leading up to the next match at the next pay-per-view. That'll be at 1x10 2007. That Bobby Lashley defeats Vince for the belt. And unfortunately, Lashley has to forfeit the DCW World Heavyweight Championship because he ended up going to drafted to Raw. He ended up feuding with John Cena that summer, and then he got hurt. Never see Lashley again in his first run in the company. Ended up leaving. So yeah, at this moment in time, you can tell Lashley is starting to improve. Because when he was like in his first 2 years of his run in the company, like 05, 06, and a little bit in the early parts of 07, he was kind of like vanilla, kind of bland, not quite find his character yet. But going in the summer of 07, you can tell Lashley is starting to find his own character. And it's a shame that it's really right now, like in his second run, they pushed him, but back in 07, he was really in his 30s. He was so young, and he has to do with injury. Play a massive part. If he didn't got injured, maybe should have won the world title sooner than in 2021. So anyway, yeah, this match just felt like a match on Raw. Like some of these matches are TV wrestling matches. They're not really pay-per-view worthy match. Yeah, it's good to see. You thought like Lashley won the belt. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Because he pinned the Ron McMahon. It's just like, yeah. No, by the way, it wasn't the running power slam. It was the Dominator. My apologies. I thought it was the running power slam. I watched the show, by the way, not at the time, but the preparation for this review. I thought it was the running power slam. It was actually the Dominator onto Shane that Bobby Lashley won this match. He's won the handicap match, but did not win the title. Yeah, like I said, this setup, like I said, 1x10, that he's basically the poster boy of the next month's pay-per-view, that Bobby Lashley went on to, like I said, win the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, or the ECW title, whatever you call it, against, it was a one-on-one match, it was a street fight, and then, like I said, Lashley forfeits the belt, went to Raw, and went on to feud with John Cena in the summertime before he left the company. So anyway, moving on to the next match, and this is also in the ECW brand. So the next match we got CM Punk taking on Elijah Burke. Elijah Burke is the future Pope D'Angelo De Niro in TNA. So at this moment in time, he kind of debuted in the WWE in ECW with Sylvester Takai. But at this moment in time, Takai is no longer with the company. He got released. I think he got released after December 2006. So he's on his own. He's part of the ECW's New Breed against the ECW Originals. Anyway, and it also fun. Not really a fun fact, just a fact that Elijah Burke was the final opponent of Chris Benoit before Benoit what he did in real life. I don't want to get into this in this review of Judgment Day 07. Maybe when I review Vengeance Night of Champions 07, but not right now. Anyway, so CM Punk used to be part of the New Breed, but they turned on Punk, kicked him out of the group. Anyway, this match also in this match, Punk was wearing bandage around his ribs. Anyway, the match between Punk and Elijah Burke, the future Pope in TNA. Okay match, like I said, this is a TV wrestling match. Doesn't belong on a pay-per-view because at the time you're spending a lot of money. I think $30-40. That's in the American money. I think in British pounds, I think it's about 20-30 quid, £30. Anyway, it was an okay match, In the end, Burke was going for the Elijah effect, but Punk counted into the GTS, the go to sleep, to win this match. Yeah, both guys were so bland, lack of personality. Like Punk, He was over by the indie fans, but not the casual diehard WWE fans, because it's just what it is. I think he was lack of personality and charisma. I think the best for him is turning heel in 2009. Brag about his being straight edge. That was kind of like the turning point for CM Punk in WWE, but it's just what it is. Punk went on to win the ECW title later on in the year. Elijah Burke stayed around with WWE until I think he got released in 2008. He ended up becoming the Pope in TNA, and the rest is history. You could tell, I think, Pope, Elijah Burke, that's really his name. I, I think the blessing in disguise for him is going to TNA. He ended up to reinvent himself, and like I said, the rest is history. His run in TNA, he didn't really want a title in TNA, but that's another story for another time. I want to talk about in my review of Judgment Day '07. So the next match, we got Randy Orton taking on Shawn Michaels. So yeah, in the end of my review of Night of Champions '08, I said this is the start of Randy Orton's new character, sort of. This was after Backlash '07. They fought in the fatal four-way match between Cena, Edge, Orton, and Shawn Michaels. Anyway, this was a match on Raw. I think it was on the Go Home Raw. Shawn Michaels not attack Edge. He beats Edge. And then after the match, Randy Orton attacked Shawn Michaels, hitting him with the Punk kick. Because at this moment in time, Rated RKO is officially no more. Edge was doing his own thing. I'll get to Edge later on in this review. Yeah, Orton you could tell, like, he's slowly, not breaking out, he's slowly growing out of his legend killer persona. He's slowly becoming the heel Viper. Anyway, so I'll get to more of Orton's Viper gimmick afterwards. So before this match, there was early on in the show, you had this interview segment. Todd Grissom was the ring interviewer, interviewed Shawn, and showing the video package of Shawn's match against Edge on the Go Home Raw. And then Orton attacked Shawn Michaels, kicked him in the head with the Punk kick. And then Orton attacked Shawn Michaels, and Shawn. So basically, Orton forming the ring. I think it was the ring announcer, that's Justin Roberts, that Shawn is no longer competing. There was a segment of his doctor informing Shawn. It's the same. I think it was the same doctor, the same guy with the bow tie. This was after Rey Mysterio's match against Sabu at 1x10.06. He was there, giving Shawn the medical treatment. After he got tapped by Randy Orton, said he no longer cannot compete. So Shawn able to manage to show up. Shawn was completely out of it. He looks like he was stoned, but he was kind of selling the effects of the concussion. He looks like he's got concussion. I'm gonna say it right now. I said in my review of Royal Rumble 2001. I'm gonna say it in my review of Judgment Day '07. Doing a storyline of someone getting concussion it's tacky and tasteless, because you don't want to do that, man. I think it's a bit tasteless. Let's do a storyline like someone got concussed, and let's have someone pretend of that person getting concussed. I don't like that. It's just kind of like, it's similar like doing a storyline. Hey, let's do a storyline about of some wrestler got their necks injured. It's just like, hate that. Like most of the wrestlers of the years, some of the wrestlers ending their careers of those injuries. Whether it's a neck injury or a concussion. Great example, like two in my knowledge, like Corey Graves, his career was ended due to concussions. Christian, great example. In his he had a concussion in 2014. That was subsequent end of his career, but he came back. He come back to compete in the ring in 2020 during his feud with Randy Orton, for a mini feud with Randy Orton. Then he had to run in AEW. Rest is history. That concussion Christian had, it took 7 years or 6 years out of his career. Corey Graves, his career was ended due to concussion. Great example. Christopher Nowinski, his career kind of ended due to a concussion. It's just I don't like it, man. If it was like going for the knee or the arm, I might be I'll be okay. I'll be okay with it. But with a neck injury or concussion, no, that's not okay, man. Anyway, the match was just not that good. He had better matches later on in '07. I'll get to that shortly. So anyway, you had Orton. Yeah, Sean did had a bit of fight to him, but like I said, he's selling the concussion. I don't think he was concussion, but like I said, it's tasteless. But anyway, so Sean, he was complete out of it. I thought he was stoned, and he looks like he took some drugs instead of being concussed. He- anyway, so in the end, he was going for the he was going for the sweet chin music, but instead he was knocked out. He was unconscious. Yeah, they're selling it like the Sean was dead, but in reality, he's selling the effects of the concussion. So Orton won this match to the technicality, technical knockout. And afterwards, in the end, Orton hit the RKO, and that was it. So it's a way to win off Sean, and I thought I heard report, I listened to someone else's review of the show, or Sanders Robbins, or Robin Sanders, his 2007 WWE reviewed that, Sean was taking some time off, he didn't got hurt, but he thought he's burnt out, but in reality, he got hurt, I thought he was on the take some time off because he was burnt out, but in reality, he injured his knee. So Sean, missed the summer of '07. He came back in the autumn to resume his rivalry over Randy Orton over the WWE Championship. They fought at Cyber Sunday and Survivor Series. So I think those matches are way better than this. It's two things. One, to run off Shawn Michaels, and two, it really established Randy Orton of his new character, that is the heel Viper, because I think at this moment in time, the legend gimmick, the legend killer gimmick of Randy Orton was starting to get a little stale. That's one, but two, I think it was barely a legend for Randy Orton to compete, because I think it was '04, I say '05, technically actually '04. I think Orton was starting the legend killer gimmick, over his feud with Mick Foley, then '05 with The Undertaker, and then in '06 with Hulk Hogan. Then you can say in technically '07, in the spring of '07, with Shawn Michaels, and then in the autumn, Orton, became, just become, not just become, he ended up stopped doing the legend gimmick, legend killer gimmick. He ended up becoming the heel Viper, you know, when he was the WWE champion. So, it was just, I don't say it's the worst match of the night, but it was just kind of meh. They had their, I think their Cyber Sunday and Survivor Series matches were way better than this match at Judgment Day '07. So, moving on to the next match. This is the second of 5 championship matches on the show, and this is for the World Tag Team Championships. The Hardys defending the belts against Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. They fought at Backlash the previous the previous month. Hardys won the belts in April after. This was after, it was I think it was a battle royal when Shawn eliminated his tag team partner John Cena. It was building up to the fatal 4-way match of that year's Backlash. So anyway, so Lance Cade and the future NWA World Heavyweight Champion Trevor Murdoch, I didn't really see the Backlash match between the Hardys versus Cade and Murdoch, but it was, I think I seen it in Jeff Hardy. I got a copy of Jeff Hardy's DVD in 2009. Anyway, I might one day review Backlash '07, but not right now. Anyway, so the match was fun. I think it was a fun match, Lance Cade, wow, Lance Cade was jacked, Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why he's got pushed, but unfortunately, yeah, it didn't work out for him. It's funny, in my last classic WWE pay-per-view review was Night of Champions '08. He was, aligned himself with Chris Jericho. This was the start of the feud with him and Shawn Michaels. He was he was kind of slimmed down a bit. He was wearing I think he was wearing some kind of, I think it was a t-shirt or something. I can't remember what clothing he was wearing. But in this match against again teaming up with his tag team partner Trevor Murdoch against the Hardys, he was jacked. You know, it's a shame he never give them a push because because I think one of the reasons why he was trained by Shawn Michaels. Yeah, unfortunately he died. It's really a shame. I think he died at the age of 29 years of age. Back then I think he was about 26. Wow, he was young. It's a shame. If he stayed healthy, what might have been. Anyway, I'm trying to keep it short and simple, folks. The match was good. I think one more of the match, Jeff was going for like a move. It was a splinter plancha off the ropes, but instead, I think Murdoch or K got out of the way. Um, like Jeff's back splattered on the floor. In the end, the Hardys got the victory. Jeff hit the Swanton Bomb. I think it was on Cade or Murdoch to win this match and retained the World Tag Team Championship. So the Hardys, as a tag team, it's a nostalgic act at this moment in time. It was the first time that Matt and Jeff teamed up for years. The first of many of reunions they're gonna have, not just in WWE, but in in TNA, ROH, and AEW. So I think I think the next month at One Extend they had a match against World's Greatest Tag Team. I think it was a ladder match or something. Um, yeah, we had that dream match. We had the WWE had Hardy Boys versus World's Greatest Tag Team. That's Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. I think they did win the tag team titles, and also they were kind of like gaining respect. In the end, Cade and Murdoch give the shake hands with the Hardys, and that was it. I think it's funny. Like Lance Cade used to be Garrison Cade. You know, it's not their first neck of the woods as tag team champions. They've been tag team champions. I think they've been tag team champions in the past. I think they were tag team champions in the past. Anyway, Cade and Murdoch went on to win the tag team titles in June. I think this was the Raw after 1X10 07. And then afterwards, Hardy's split up. Matt was teaming up with MVP. Jeff was doing his own thing. I think he was soon to win the Intercontinental Championship. It was planting the seeds of his push he's gonna have the following year in 2008. So moving on to the next match. This is for the World Heavyweight Championship. Edge defending the belt against Batista. So, what's the story? How they're leading up to this? Edge becoming the world champion. So, at WrestleMania 23, The Undertaker. This is Edge's first reign as the World Heavyweight Champion. Anyway, so at WrestleMania 23, The Undertaker defeat Batista at WrestleMania 23, extending his streak at 15-0. This was the start of the series of matches in 07. I think it's one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best feuds in 2007. Undertaker and Batista. So Taker won the world title at WrestleMania. They had the rematch at Backlash in a last man standing match. The match was ended I think it was a double. I think it was not a double count out. I think it was a non-contest. Batista spear. Undertaker off the I think it's off the pay-per-view set. So then on SmackDown, I think in the beginning of May, Undertaker and Batista had another rematch for the World Heavyweight Championship. This time inside of a steel cage that the Undertaker won. I'll get to that. I'll get to more of that shortly. So Mr. Kennedy won the third Money in the Bank ladder match, in WWE history. Unfortunately, it was cut short because he dropped the briefcase to Edge on Raw. It's a way to run off Mr. Kennedy because he suffered a hematoma, a torn tricep. But in reality, that injury of Mr. Kennedy was short term but not long term. So back to the SmackDown. I think it was the 1st of May. I can't remember. So anyway, so Undertaker retained the World Heavyweight Championship against Batista on SmackDown inside of the steel cage. And then out comes Mark Henry. He beat up and battered the bloodied Undertaker, and it set up Undertaker Mark Henry at Unforgiven of that year. That'll be in September of that year. So anyway, so Edge showed up, cashing his briefcase onto the Undertaker, won the World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. and I think this is the start of people and I think this is the start of Edge like claiming his nickname, the Ultimate Opportunist. It was written off it was written off the Undertaker because Undertaker suffered a torn bicep, and they planted the seeds of Undertaker's redemption onto Edge when he set up the Undertaker Edge main event of WrestleMania 24 world title versus the Streak. You know, if you want to hear about this match, go watch my review of WrestleMania 24. It's on the playlist, classic WWE pay-per-view reviews playlist for more information. Anyway, so this was the start of the rivalry between Edge and Batista. Anyway, so like it's funny, like this is the back-to-back classic WWE pay-per-view reviews, like covering a Edge versus Batista match. I'm gonna say it right now. I don't think Edge and Batista had some chemistry. They got a little bit of chemistry, but it's not gelling for me. It's just like kind of sometimes a bit boring, because their match at Night of Champions in 08, it was a way to. It was La Familia screwing Batista, taking the belt away from Batista, keeping the belt away from Batista. Anyway, this was the start of the Edge Batista rivalry. Anyway, so it was okay. It was a good. Actually, it was a good match. I think some bulk of the match. You had Edge working on the arm and the leg of Batista. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think. In this match in Judgment Day '07, Edge hit his own finisher, the spear, onto Batista. Batista hit Edge by his own spear. You know, so far in Batista's run in the company, he just hits his opponents with spine busters and Batista bonds. But I think at this moment in time, he's hitting his opponents with the spear. Like in his matches against Edge at Night of Champions '08 and this show at Judgment Day '07. Batista hit his own spear onto Edge. So in the end, Edge got the victory, rolled up Batista, so he retains the World Heavyweight Championship on the show. This was the start of the three-match rivalry of him and Batista. So they fought at One Night Stand in a steel cage match. Then they fought at Vengeance Night of Champions that Edge won again. And then Edge fought at the World Heavyweight title due to the pec injury. Then resumed the rivalry. Edge came back at Survivor Series. During a match between Undertaker Batista inside Hell in a Cell. Then they fought in a triple threat match at Armageddon. At the end of the year, that Edge would win the World Heavyweight title for the second time of his career. So I'll get to more of the aftermath at the end of this review after the main event. So moving on to the next match. So the next match, this is a 2 out of 3 pinfall match for the United States Championship. Chris Benoit in his final WWE pay-per-view appearance, defending the United States Championship against MVP. This is the third of the 3-match series on pay-per-view between Benoit and MVP. Because I think Benoit won the United States title in October. This was after he took a break from I think it was in the springtime of '06. Came back in October, won the United States title, and if you with MVP, this is technically the last feud of Chris Benoit's career. They fought at WrestleMania 23. Benoit won. They fought at Backlash. Benoit won again. Anyway, the match. For me, this was a bit boring. I think this was the weakest match of the series of the rivalry between Benoit and MVP. It was a little boring. It was chains wrestling. The bulk of the match, you had MVP working on the leg of Benoit. I think JBL Michael Cole says, he injured his knee in the hands of Finlay. Anyway, so the first pinfall goes to MVP. Ben was going for the electric chair spot, but MVP countered into the playmaker. The second fall was a bit rushed. I feel like they should have more minutes of it. That's just me. It was 12 minutes. I wish they had more minutes to this match. Anyway, so MVP rolled up Benoit with a small package to win this match and won the United States title, his first championship in WWE, because he debuted the end of the previous year in 2006. And this was the turning point for MVP's career. Yeah, he didn't win the world title, but I'm just saying it was the turning point of his career because he debuted in, was it late '06? I think it was the autumn of '06. They kind of put him in a losing streak. Great example, they put MVP in a match against Kane in an Infernal match. That's fucking stupid. I don't want to get into that. I don't know what show. I don't know what show is that. Is it No Mercy? I think it was No Mercy or Armageddon. It's one or the other, man. I don't know. But anyway, I think this match with Benoit, it really I think it put him on the map a bit. It was a career revival for him because he was on a losing streak. If he lost to Benoit on this show, that will be the end of MVP. But I think glad not. It's good to see MVP winning the United States title. I think it's one of his mentors when he was in WWE in the early years of MVP in his first run in WWE. So anyway, afterwards the split. MVP end up like feuding and teaming up with Matt Hardy. Like I said, this was Chris Benoit's final pay-per-view match as a professional wrestler because what he did in real life. Like I said, I don't want to get into it. One day I might review Vengeance Night of Champions 2007 for more information. Anyway, so it's good to see MVP winning the belt. I think this was a bit weak. It wasn't a bad match, but it was just I wish they had more time. It was a little bit boring. It was. I think the WrestleMania and Backlash match was a little bit better. So moving on to the main event. This is for the WWE Championship. John Cena defending the belt against the Great Khali. So the build up to this was after Backlash, in the fatal 4-way match between John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton, and Edge. Great Khali attack Shawn Michaels, Edge, and Randy Orton. For weeks now, you had Khali beating down John Cena and also took the physical WWE Championship. So in this match, it's a really fun story. I mentioned it in the start of this review. I'm going to say it right now. Judgment Day '06 was Great Khali's pay-per-view debut because he debuted the previous year. And fast forward 1 year later, this is his first World Championship match. And don't worry, folks, he's going to get that big push. I'll get to that later on. Anyway, so Khali, man. This was passable. I thought this was going to be a shit match because Khali is just the shit. He cannot work. The presentation of the Great Khali. I think before this there was an interview segment between him and his brother slash transmater, Ranjan Singh. I don't know if it's his first pay-per-view appearance or one of his pay-per-view appearance, as a on-screen character because before that, Khali was teaming up with Sean Devari. Anyway, it was an okay match. Khali, man, he hit like Cena with a crap-looking clotheslines. People talk about Omos being the Black Khali. I think they need to look in the mirror, man. Even though Omos is not that great, but Omos can actually run. He can actually move. Khali cannot move, man. Like in this match, he hit like an okay spinning heel kick onto Cena. I thought he's gonna fall on his ass. That'll be laughable, but he didn't. I'm trying to keep it short and simple, folks. It wasn't a bad match. It was okay. It was a passable Great Khali match. Even though if you watch a Great Khali match, they end up being bad. Anyway, so in the end, Cena made Great Khali tap out. I think he was still undefeated at the time. He never got pinned, never got submitted. He got submitted on this show. Cena locked him with the STFU. Khali tapped out. Cena retains the title. I think it's for the best, man. It's for the best. Who wants to see Great Khali winning the belt on the show, letting the fans go home disappointed, even though they hate Cena at the time, but they'd rather have Cena retain on the show. So they set up a rematch at 1x10 the following month. They fought in a false count anywhere match. Cena FU'd the Great Khali into the skip. I think it was a constructural skip, and that was it. Cena moved on to Bobby Lashley and Randy Orton. I think 2007 was John Cena's best year in the company since he debuted in WWE in 2002. Anyway, people don't like his. I think Cena's like third WWE title reign is very underrated. Doesn't really get any respect. It's because people just do not like John Cena. Don't want to get into it. So anyway, Great Khali went on to have a push because I think the reason why because Cena and Great Khali are bodybuilders. Former bodybuilders. Khali's got like a good body, but reality just cannot work. He's not a good worker. But anyway, so Khali went on to have the biggest push of his career. He went on to win the World Heavyweight Championship. This was after Edge suffered a pec injury, and he set up like one of the worst feuds of 2007 against Batista. Great example. They fought in the Punjabi prison match in October. Yeah, so that's another story for another time. Anyway, my final rating for Judgment Day '07. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Is it a terrible show? No. Is it a great show? Not really. This is middle of the road of a pay per view. It was okay. Some of the matches were okay. Feel like there was belong on a Raw, SmackDown, ECW, not on your pay per view. You're spending a lot of money at the time. Right now we got the network. Don't know the stuff with indefinite between the merger between WWE and ECW. That's another story for another time. Anyway, the he has some good matches on the show, but it doesn't make me go, wow, I need to go back to watch Judgment Day '07 again. No, they were kind of decent matches. Like, great example, like the Hardys versus Caden Murdoch. Edge and Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship was fine, was decent. Same as Benoit MVP. The only thing in the bad for me were Bobby Lashley versus Vince, Shane, and Umaga. It was just a glorified squash match. It's a way to keeping the belt away from Lashley. Orton and Shawn. It was a way to win off Shawn, to get, because he's got hurt at the time, and at the same time it was developing. It was the start of Randy Orton's new character, or the start of his new character, the heel Viper persona. I really play in the bad for me, just me. But the okay is the okay. It's just like Flair and Carlito was okay. Punk and Elijah Burke, same, okay. And the main event, John Cena, Great Khali, okay. Better on Raw, but not on your not on the pay per view. You're spending a lot of money at the time. So, like I said, this show is just a Raw, SmackDown, and an ECW on a Sunday night. So, anyway, so I hope you enjoyed my review of Judgment Day '07. And also, I'll put Kane not showing Kane, wrestle on the dark match, but not on the main show in a bad. I hate, like I said, I don't like wrestlers who promote was on a poster on a pay per view, but not showing them at the actual pay per view itself. It's just like I feel like you're gonna get like your payback. You just want your money back. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed my review of Judgment Day '07. Leave your thoughts in the comments just below. What's your thoughts on it? Smash the like, click the bell, subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube, be part of the Central Unit for more wrestling videos and more next time. So we're in the month of June. We got Money in the Bank season, and also I'm going to review some classic June WWE pay-per-views or summer theme pay-per-views instead of SummerSlam. That's where you have to wait until August, by the way. Anyway, so far I reviewed Money in the Bank 2010. That was the first Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Money in the Bank 2011. That's known for CM Punk winning the WWE Championship in his hometown Chicago. This was 2 weeks after Punk cutting the pipe bomb promo. I don't want to do 2012. Let's skip to 2013. I know it's in July, that show, but I'm going to review it because Money in the Bank's or in our current timeline is in June. It's on the end of June. So anyway, let's review Money in the Bank 2013, the return of RVD, the final Raw and SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder matches, and betrayals. A lot of betrayals, or some betrayals. Anyway, until then, this is Essential Man Official signing out. Check you later. That's my review of Judgment Day '07. Not a bad show,